Oh, hi, Mr. Franklin. Just finishing up this last Melville mystery. I didn't get a chance the other day.
All right, now what are you doing here?
Well, I'm waiting for you. I happen to be in the neighborhood.
Oh, you're always in the neighborhood. And you tell me what right you've got to keep those movers out of this office?
Oh, listen, I'm sorry about that. It's just, you know what I thought? I thought you and I should talk alone.
You and I have nothing to talk about.
Yes, we do, Mr. Franklin. We have something to talk about. I'm here to arrest you for the murder of your partner.
What?
Now, it's my duty to inform you of your constitutional rights.
Oh, you cut that drivel. I've written that stuff so many times, I know it by heart. And what is this nonsense? You're going to arrest me.
Come on, Mr. Franklin. Why don't you make a statement and save us both a lot of trouble? You know, I've really got you.
All right, Lieutenant. You got me. I'm your prisoner here. Clamp the irons on me. But you want to give me a dime first so I can phone my attorney? Because I promise you I'm going to sue you and your department for false arrest and defamation of character.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Columbo Confab Podcast. This is Steve.
And this is Sean.
And tonight we are going to talk about Murder by the Book.
That was very professional, Steve. Bravo! Bravo!
Oh, thank you. I wanted to throw you a curveball, but I didn't want to attempt it. I was going to say publish or perish, but no. Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I actually got the two confused. Thankfully, I did text Sean earlier this week because I honestly thought it was publish or perish. I wasn't trying to be funny with you.
Don't you look at the spreadsheet that's in the Dropbox folder that we share that has the list of the ones that we haven't done yet?
We have a spreadsheet in a Dropbox? Wow,
yeah.
No, I wasn't even aware of this document.
It lists
okay. It's my first day.
It lists the episodes that we haven't covered yet. And that's what when you spin by the way, I don't want to disillusion you folks, but there is no actual wheel that Steve spins. It's just no.
What?
Oh, you actually spin a wheel over there? No. It's the episodes are just all in an Excel spreadsheet, and I have a random number generator, and I pick 1 through whatever, and boom. And last time we did this, it picked number 1, which was Murder by the Book, which is important because it's the first in this.
But hey, give. It is. It's the first episode of the first season. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a mini movie night special, whatever. But hey, I just want to say, publish or perish. I mean, come on. They both have Jack Cassidy. They both have something to do with books and a writer or writers, whatever. So very easily confused. I think I deserve a little leniency there.
Except he's a publisher in the other one, who watches dirty movies at work. Okay, all right, that's fine.
Uh-huh.
I just would have thought this being the first one of the episode, you would have been like, oh, Murder by the Book, that's the one directed by Steven Spielberg, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, but...
Right. So, Murder by the Book. Yes. This is... I was telling Sean off air that I felt like we've already talked about this already, but I'm more than happy to talk about it again. So, first season, like we said, and the opening is really good. I typically don't like the music, the opening music for Columbo. I mean, because he doesn't have a theme song, but I really enjoy this particular one.
Yes,
with the typing and the sound effects are great, and I'm going to attribute that to just Spielberg.
Yes,
and it's interesting. This was his first. Was this his first credited? Directing position?
No. And you know what? I could have looked that up.
He hadn't done any movies. Yeah, he hadn't done any movies.
I don't remember if this is before or after he did Duel. It's definitely before he did Jaws, but it's also after he did an episode of The Night Gallery with Joan Crawford.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. But anyway, so the opening scene, we see Jim, who is working in this really nice office. I wish I had an office like that. It's just full of books. He's got some creepy skulls.
His office is is cooler than his house. obviously he goes there because his wife is annoying and he can't write at home, so he goes and writes in the office. Because when you're a writer, do you really need an office and an office space like that?
And those books must have really produced a lot of money, because I mean that office, couldn't have been cheap. The two homes that Ken has, I mean, incredibly expensive. I don't know, these Mrs. Melville books must have just been number ones every single book. I just doesn't. I don't know. I wouldn't think a book would generate that much cash, but I know very little about publishing books or anything like that.
Agatha Christie published 80-plus murder mystery novels, and most of them were bestsellers. And after, I don't remember if it's after the Bible, but I think so. I think that almost as many people have purchased her books than the Bible. She has sold more books than Shakespeare. And I think the only people that buy Shakespeare are schools for
high school students.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. High school students. Yeah. So we see Ken. I guess you should start over. Jim and Ken are both they're both dual writers for the Mrs. Melville mystery book. So Mrs. Melville, I want to say, is kind of like I don't know what's that Agatha Christie. Mrs. Marple?
Miss Marple.
Kind of reminds you, Miss Marple is kind of an older woman, fit right in on Golden Girls. But anyways, so she's a mystery solver, maybe even a Jessica Fletcher kind of character. That's the impression we get. But anyways, they both co-write for those novels, and of course we find out that Jim's really the brains behind the book, and Ken's more the marketing guy, but they've decided that they're going to break off their co-credit of these books, and Jim is going to go off and do a solo. He's going to do his own thing, and so Ken is obviously upset about this because it's garnered him a lot of money, but he wants to go visit Jim to make peace, right?
And how does he do this?
But actually,
he opens.
Yeah, so he brings a. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He brings a loaded gun to the office, as well as a.
No, it's not loaded.
Oh, you're right. It's not loaded. I'm sorry. As well as a bottle of champagne, and points the gun in Jim's face when he opens the door. But then we're told, "Oh, it's not loaded. Cause your finger isn't on the trigger. You gotta get up early in the morning to fool me, Ken."
Yeah, Jim notices right away there's no bullets in the chamber. His finger is not on the trigger; it's on the outside of the ring, and he's not wearing any gloves. So obviously, his intent is not to kill him. Boy, was he wrong! He's just going to play the long game.
So yeah,
I was going to shoot him there.
So Ken has brought champagne, and I just want to say this isn't Ken loves champagne. Champagne comes up later on.
Apparently,
yeah. He brings champagne in 2 glasses and pours 2 glasses. They both have a little bit of champagne. But no one notices after the fact that there's a champagne bottle and 2 glasses there. That would have been a great clue. And Steve, I love clues.
Yes. And I thought it was funny when Jack Cassidy, or I should say Ken, pops the champagne bottle. It literally comes off instantaneously. I don't know if you've ever... surely you've opened bottles of champagne and popped the cork.
Absolutely.
But that one came out, and I think it surprised Cassidy when it came out, because it literally... he unwrapped it, and the thing just popped. And I don't think he was expecting that. And it was kind of funny to see him startled there for a few seconds. But he kept it in character. Very good. But, yeah, so Ken is going to, quote-unquote, kidnap Jim for a guy's day out at his cabin that's in, is it San Francisco? Is that where they said
San Diego.
Or just
San
outside
Diego.
of San Francisco?
Outside San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we also find out that Jim will be his first male guest.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I thought that I just thought that was a weird thing to say. You're going to be my first male guest tonight.
Well,
Sean.
it's because Ken's a whore. Ken's a whore.
That's just a weird thing. Yes, he gets around, and I think he's probably from the schooling of Bill Cosby. Probably, brings champagne. Probably puts a little Tylenol PM in there, and
puts the poison in the pudding pot. Feeds it to the ladies. I don't think that's not. Is that funny still? Can we still laugh at that? Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
I don't know. Yeah, I think
basically ripped off of them from Golden Globes.
But what's with all the champagne? He always has a bottle of champagne.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the man loves his champagne.
Yeah. He is up there.
It's almost like he uses it as. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's up there with Dabney Coleman, and who else likes champagne? There's somebody else that likes champagne. I can't remember who it is. I don't know. Keep going. I'm sorry.
But he's kind of like he uses champagne as like a pedophile uses puppies and candy as bait to children. I mean, he basically if Ken is going to serve you champagne, just expect to be bludgeoned or shot any moment. Okay, it seems to be a prelude to murder.
But what he does, and I found this very creepy, is that he talks Jim into coming down to San Diego with him, or is it coming up to San Diego? Mm-hmm. Isn't that awful? I don't know. We live in Texas. We don't know. And he says, don't bother calling your wife. You can call her once we get there or something like that. Then he stops at the general store shortly before they get there. Oh, it's an hour away. It's an hour away. The general store is an hour away from Ken's cabin.
Yeah, that's what I really had trouble with the timeline here. Now, I realize that it's just early in the morning, but Ken tells Jim that I'll have you back before, for the evening. And I'm thinking it's a 2-hour drive, right? Something like that.
Something like that.
And then he wants to take him fishing, to get a boat out, to get geared up. That's going to take a couple of hours. You probably spend 3-4 hours on the water. If you want to fish.
Jim does make the comment early on when he's giving him champagne. He says, well, it's before 10 in the morning. And that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm assuming it's also a weekend because there are no other cars in the parking lot in that office building. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I know. It seemed like they had the whole place to themselves. Yeah. So what we find out is that we skipped over, but let's go back to it, where Ken is walking Jim down to his car so they can go leave for the cabin, right? He has a piece of paper that has these names. He hands it to Jim, saying it's a list of things he'll need when he moves out. But we find out later what he's doing. He's just going to get Jim's fingerprints on this piece of paper. Once he does that, he tells Jim that he forgot his safety blanket, a.k.a. his lighter. And he goes back to the office and trashes the place, and then plants the list of names in the office.
He really knows how to trash a place, too.
That was really... Yeah. He gleefully trashed. I mean, he had a smile on his face. He had a good time doing that. And those cigarettes, he smokes the long 100s, I noticed.
Oh, I did not notice that. He certainly does smoke a lot, which, of course, in real life became his undoing, quite literally. But I love how there's a shot of him flipping something over, and he puts his hand on his chest, and he kind of twiddles his fingers like, I'm tearing... But in real life, actually, wouldn't it be really fun to just tear someone's office up? Someone who you're going to kill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's got a lot of anger towards. Yeah. But, yeah, so they drive out, and one of the interesting things, and I like that how this will tie into the ending, but on the drive out, Jim says to Ken, boy, this all seems so familiar. It's like deja vu, but I've never been here before. I love that they planted that line at the very beginning because it does come back to play at the very end. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very clever.
Yes, indeed. So he stops by the general store where... what's wrong?
Lysanka store, general store.
Where he meets Mrs. Lysanka. And she's kind of like, I don't know. If the roles had been switched, if he was a woman and she was a man.
She's that creepy stalker girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, who you with? And she's trying to peep out the window. You know what? If this was rebooted and remade, this part would be played by Fran Drescher. Drescher? But,
yeah.
So she's nosy, and he's going to give her a copy of the book that he autographed for her prescription murder, of course. See what they did? Ah, Is he wild?
I like that.
And she says the creepiest thing, well, I'd rather have the storyteller than the story. So gross. Like, could you imagine?
Things were different back then, Sean. In the 70s, everybody slept.
Yeah, I guess. But what I didn't think about earlier is that this is the time when Ken goes in the background to make a telephone call, and he calls Jim's wife and says, hey, I'm calling. Jim's at the office. I'm at the cabin. Just calling to let you know that we're kind of okay.
If anything happens...
Yeah. You know where I am, right?
But that would be really suspicious. I'm sorry. If you were to say that, hey, if anything strange happens, just give me a call. Well,
Yeah.
what are you expecting? He's writing a book.
Yeah. So he drives over to his house. Now, he's like, okay, go call your wife right now. Never mind the fact that I'm wearing gloves or that the couch is covered in plastic. Call your wife. Oh, don't call the operator.
So that's interesting to me. So I guess back then, if you were to make a long-distance call, you dialed the operator first?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because that was the first thing that Jim was going to do, was dial the operator and have a connect call to a long-distance number. But I don't know. That's weird. I don't remember that when I was younger, having to do that. But yeah. So yeah, as Jim is talking to his wife Joanna, he's just saying, "Hey, I'm going to be at the office late," this is all scripted by Ken. This is what Ken tells Jim what to say. Now, I find it odd because Jim seems like a really more stable person. He obviously loves his wife. He doesn't feel comfortable lying to her.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised that Ken was able to drag him 2 hours out to spend a day of drinking and fishing. It just seemed really off for Jim.
Yeah, and then to have to
little
lie.
we know about him.
And then to have to lie to his wife about where they are. I mean, why couldn't he just say, oh, and if he had done it, though, I gotta tell you, I'm down here with Ken. Ken would be like, oh, fucking shit. Now, not only can I not kill you, but I've got to spend the entire rest of the evening with you.
Well,
fuck.
Yeah, and then the night before, they say this at the beginning, but the night before, Jim says, he accepts Ken's apology because Ken blew up on him the night before because of the divorce, as they called it. So they obviously weren't on speaking terms until that morning.
Right.
Which I don't know if I would have trusted Ken that early. Like maybe after a few friendly phone calls, maybe a dinner. I wouldn't have gone to a remote location with Ken.
Yeah, I agree.
mean, Lysenka had more common sense with Ken than Jim does. I think Jim's just a gullible kind of, lucky kind of guy that just, I don't know, has no social sense or something.
Yeah, he's probably just a nerd.
He's too nice.
Yeah,
too trusting.
Yeah, he's the dweeb that all the jocks take out in a night and they get him like fucking wasted and then like leave him somewhere. I'm sorry, I'm saying fuck too much. But Mrs. Lysenka, we'll talk about her and her brain capacity shortly. I think she's thinking of her hoo-ha before she's thinking with her brain, if you know what I mean.
She hadn't had any since her husband died. So, and I almost got I got the impression that maybe she had something to do with that. But anyways, so while Jim is talking to his wife long distance at the cabin, saying, "Hey, I'm at the office," so that places him at the office. And as he's talking to her and saying he's going to be late, that's when Jim pulls out the gun. This time, it's loaded, and this time he's got his finger on the trigger. And I thought it was interesting that he's just holding the gun there, and he's waiting for Jim to make eye contact with him, and that's when he shoots him, which I thought was damn creepy. He wanted Jim to see it coming.
And not only that, but then after we hear the gunshot, it does a quick cut to where Jim's wife is with a picture in the background. It goes to the picture, and then it does a quick, what do you call this? A crane right down to her face. But yeah, that's more Spielberg. Mm-hmm. Perhaps we're just noticing the directing more in this because we know it's Steven Spielberg, so we're picking up things that we like.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah.
So then we cut to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we cut to Joanne calls the police, and now they're at the office, and she's being interrogated by the police, which she should, because watching Columbo has taught me anything, it's usually the spouse that is the killer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm sure that's what their first suspect is the
And
wife.
she's upset, and we meet Columbo shambling down the hallway towards her, who actually tells her, okay, come on, I'll make you an omelet at your house, which is just so...
Yeah, let me take you home. And
I'm not feeling that. I'm not...
the last time I saw Columbo that I can remember that where he's going to make breakfast. Now, I'm not talking about carrying a hard-boiled egg in his pocket. Where he makes an omelet or scrambled eggs is in rest in peace, Mrs.
Yes.
Columbo. Where that's at the very end. So he's making an omelet. I wish Peter Falk would make me an omelet.
Okay, so me too. That would be great. But what's interesting is that the way that he enters and the way that we first meet him is completely different from the way that we first meet him in the episode before this, which is Ransom for a Dead Man. In this one, he remains pretty confident. He seems pretty confident. He doesn't seem really smart, but we don't have any of the funny things that he says. In Ransom for a Dead Man, we first meet him when he's outside looking for his pencil that he dropped in the patio. And then 2 minutes later, he's asking Lee Grant, if I wash my hand with one piece of soap and then I put it on the dish with the other pieces of soap, how do you prevent all the soaps from sticking together? Because he just used the bathroom. Do you remember this line? And she's like, it's a problem. He's doing funny things like that. Here, he's not doing anything like that. It's almost like they said...
There's no just one more thing in this either. Now, he does annoy Ken quite a bit with constantly showing up, but he never says just one more thing.
Yeah, and he doesn't do anything that is... what's the word I'm looking for? Bumbling?
But Columbo seems more, collected, does better. He doesn't seem to... I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? He's just more confident in this.
He doesn't seem really smart either, because when...
I didn't get that, but go on.
Oh, no, he's smart in that he's smart like he usually is. He solves the case and picks up clues and, all that, but... Even when he first meets Ken Franklin's like, "Oh, Mrs. Melville would be running, circles around you," and Columbo's like, "Oh, really? Oh, you think so? Is that it's just the way?"
Oh, I think Columbo's playing along.
Oh, he thinks it's him before he even meets him. I think.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and we always ask, when did Columbo suspect the murderer? And I think it's when Columbo, when he's talking to Joanna making the omelet, and he finds out that there was an issue, they're breaking up their partnership. Columbo knows that she thought it was funny when he said when she said writing partner, because she didn't think he did much, or she didn't think Ken did very much, so she kind of did a little chuckle. He picked up on that. So I think he, from that conversation with her, picks up. And he's very comfortable with Joanna, so I don't think he ever suspected her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I think, but after talking to Joanna, but before even Ken shares a scene with Columbo, he's already suspecting.
I agree 100%.
And and we find out that Ken drove back instead of taking the plane back, which we know later is because Jim's body's in the trunk, so he can plant it later that evening. But Columbo questions that. Why didn't you take a flight?
That's a stupid clue, though, because
I don't know.
Why does Ken have to be there as soon as possible?
Yeah, that's what I would have. Yeah, you're right.
Is he going to fly? Where is he going to get his car? How is he going to get his car back?
Because he's not dead. Right at this point, we just think it's a kidnapping.
Right. Exactly. All right. So Ken brings, we keep calling him Ken Franklin. Franklin brings Columbo back to the office and shows him the list of names. And another clue that they missed out on was the fact that Ken had Jim touch the list, but his fingerprints would just be on the edge of the piece of paper, wouldn't they? They would just be in those little places in the piece of paper. They wouldn't be all over the piece of paper. I don't know. If he had folded it up like that.
Yeah.
So that was never brought up.
But yes. So the way Ken sells it to Columbo is that it's a list of names in the mafia. People on the West Coast mafia. I don't know what you'd call that, but anyways, I thought it was interesting. He reads off a few of the names like Mustel, Hathaway, Roger Delgado.
Anthony Ainley, John Sims. So then Ken goes home, and we have this wonderful scene of him just walking through the door with his mail in his hand, and he dials Lieutenant Columbo's office. And as he opens up his mail, he tells Lieutenant Columbo about the dead body that's on his front lawn.
No, he doesn't even do that. No, he just says it's an emergency. You need to come right away. That's it.
Yeah.
I think I would have said. I wouldn't have called Columbo. I would have called the police department and said, "There's a body on my yard. Please send somebody immediately." I don't know.
I agree, but he knows that Columbo's in charge of the case, so I don't know. I think we're splitting hairs on that one.
Yeah, and so I thought it was interesting because at this point, Ken really underestimates Columbo. He already thinks of him as an idiot. He also, for good measure, he's going to preoccupy Columbo with other things to kind of keep him off his trail, like by giving him all the Mrs. Melville books to read. He just gave him a pile of books. I would think, no, sir, I've got to concentrate on this case and not on these books. This isn't going to help me.
Yeah, do you expect me to read all of these in a week? Because usually it takes me 2 weeks to read a book. My wife, I don't know. So, but Columbo eventually does bring him back. I don't know if he read all of them, though, or if he just read one. But I don't know.
Or any of them. But I recognize the house in this episode. I've seen it before.
It was.
It's the Robert Culp one. Okay.
Yes, the most crucial game.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
What a beautiful home it is.
Yes, it is on the inside and the outside. I'm sure it's not the same house on the inside and outside, but I wonder what that looks like now. That would be awesome to see. So, Columbo shows up at Franklin's house. They jaw for a while. Columbo gets a drink from him. Another thing that you don't usually see: Columbo drinking bourbon on ice with his murderer. And then he points out, he's like, "Oh, it's something how you can split your concentration like that. The funny things people do. You opened up your mail before the police even got here. It's some mine, sir. Oh, okay, I'll see you." And then he walks away, and then we get that lone shot of Ken Franklin standing there with this oh shit look on his face, like, oh my gosh, this guy's smarter than I thought.
That's what. Yeah, absolutely. I loved it.
Yeah. So. Okay, so then the game is basically the game.
One of the first things that. Yeah, and right away, Columbo's trying to think, well, what's the motive? And so he ends up. It's a very random scene. He ends up taking this insurance guy out to lunch, which is hot dogs, to ask him a question about how it works when you have, a partnership and one of the partners dies. What happens? Where's the money go? Is there an insurance coverage? How does that work? And so he's able to get information from I don't even know what the guy's name was.
Mr. Tucker. Mr. Tucker. I don't know why I remember that his name was Mr. Tucker, but whatever.
But I guess they just wanted to establish that was the motive, and that's where Columbo came up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't remember what happens next. We're going to get done with this one pretty quick, I'll bet you, because there's not. I think so, because there's not a lot else. Okay, well let's talk. Well, we have to talk about Mrs. Lysenko again, because Mrs. Lysenko.
She does come
back.
up. Yep.
She comes back. He's at the theater with one of his broads. He's with the brunette, and she's bothering Mrs. Mr. Franklin, and Ken's date is like, who is that? And he says somebody who should be somewhere else. And turns out
she's definitely has the hots for Franklin, but Ken does not like her at all. I mean, it's not. I think he just kind of entertains her because probably he's getting a discount off his coffee at the general store. I don't know why he's so nice to her. Maybe because he likes the attention. I don't know. So Mrs. Lysenko shows up and she basically is telling Ken to drop his date because she wants to go have drinks with him, and he's not quite getting why she's being so forward. And then she kind of hints like, well, I've got a story that you might be interested in. It's about a murder and a witness. it totally grabs him. So he takes her out to like a steak and ale. That's what it looked like to me.
I don't know. Strawberries on ice with champagne.
That sounds like fun. I was a bit surprised by the presentation of strawberries. Maybe that was the thing back in the 70s. I don't know. Maybe good strawberries were hard to come by.
Maybe the strawberry famine of 1973, but I don't know why you need a huge, gigantic vase of ice to put the strawberries in. But she fucking loves them.
And you can hear her eating. You can hear her smacking. Like, was the microphone too close? Like, what the hell was going on? Ladies and gentlemen, if you suffer from the distraction of people smacking their gum or eating with their mouth open like that, if that really annoys you, this scene will get to you.
You know what?
It's an ASMR kind of.
Yeah. He probably wanted to kill her right then and there because of the way that she ate strawberries. But what's so funny is that she basically like a fool blackmails him, and she asks for $15,000, which we don't do research. I didn't look up how much that would be in 2019 money. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, we'll meet again. And then he feeds her a strawberry, and I'm like, oh, you're going to die, and it's so gross. And you're so stupid and dumb at the same time. I don't know whether to feel bad for you or to be like, what do you see in this leech, this disgusting man with his hair and his...
Oh, he's a womanizer. He's just got a cult of personality. He's really smooth. But yeah, basically when she asked for the $15,000, I wrote my notes, you dead. I mean, it's so obvious. He's going to kill you next. Oh, well, you dead. Uh-huh.
Then we cut back to I don't know what the timing here is. I get a little confused by that because between the time that the murder occurs and the time that he meets Mrs. Lysenko at the theater, we don't know if it's been like a week or a day or what, but I think that there has been some time that's passed. And
there must have been, because when Columbo sees him again, he's read all those books.
This is true.
Supposedly.
This is true. And also they mentioned that Jim has been buried. So I guess.
During
Columbo shows up at his house with the books while Ken Franklin is doing an interview for some pretty lady for some newspaper, and basically, he's like, what's the word? He's knacking on her. He's hacking on her. He's not hacking on her. He's macking on her. That's what I'm looking for. Us old folks, we don't know that. He's macking on her, and he's like, well, it's the second reason I had this interview. I permitted this interview, and asks her out on a date before leaving. And
I thought it was funny as he walks her out the door and says, call me next week. He closes the door, and the cameraman is right behind him. He's like, "Oh, sorry. Tom. I just."
Well, he does say something else.
Whatever his name was.
Columbo's hanging around in the background, as he usually does whenever there's a photo shoot. He shows up at the worst possible time. And Ken says, "Maybe we'll meet again under less harassing circumstances."
Yes, but Columbo does pick up that he has 2 bottles of champagne.
Yes.
This time again, does he have like a crate of the same champagne? I mean, I just don't. He's just got a lot of champagne.
Oh, I'm positive. He's probably got like a special champagne fridge that he bought from the Adrian Carsini company or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like Death of a Rock Star, where it just I've never seen so much champagne in a Columbo episode.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
And Columbo says,
it's redundant.
Columbo says, "Oh, well, you've got 2 bottles. Are you meeting a lady?" And he's like, "I can assure you, I can drink those 2 bottles myself, and plus more." And I'm thinking, so can I. So can I.
So can I. That's.
Because champagne.
No, I don't think I would drink champagne alone, though. That's the thing. I mean, yeah, I might have a beer or maybe a cocktail. I just don't think I would drink champagne.
Yeah,
alone.
Champagne's a party drink or a sexy drink. It's all about the sex and the pop. And the spritz.
Celebration or. Yeah.
But if I had nothing else, fuck yeah, I'd drink the champagne. But you know what? Those champagne bottles are deceivingly small because you looks like they're actually made of very thick glass. But you know what? Just turns out they're only 750 milliliters, just like wine. It's only like 3 glasses, 4 glasses, or 2 glasses in my case, or an episode of recording this in my case. Sometimes even more. But yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Good to know. So yeah. So we cut to a scene where he sees Lysenko, whatever what's her first name?
Lily.
Okay. So he sees Lily, tells her she's going to cook dinner, and then we cut to the scene where they're having dinner together. And I guess they had just finished, and they're just polished off the first bottle. And poor Lily. I mean, she's getting real tipsy. She's obviously getting horny.
Wait, can I just say this?
Yeah.
There's somebody on one of the Columbo Facebook groups that I belong to. Somebody likes to create memes. I don't know how they do it. I know there's a website where you can do it.
Oh yeah, this website. Yeah.
But they took like 2 different pictures, put them together, and then made the meme from that. And one of them was her like laughing and saying, "Oh, no more champagne for me," it said at the top. And at the bottom was her screaming, "It goes right to my head." 'Cause he hit her in the head with a champagne bottle. Anyway, yeah. But she can't think she's so horny because. And by the way, her store.
Well, she's somewhat smart because Ken says, "Hey, why don't we take this party out to the middle of the lake and let's go swimming together?" And she right off the bat is like, "No,
I think not.
I don't think so, buddy. Yeah. I trust you, but I don't trust you that far."
It's not very smart.
Which is the first smart thing she said.
Yeah, even though she's out in the middle of nowhere with him anyway, albeit not on the water. And it didn't occur to me until I watched it for this that her house is just the back of the general store. Poor thing just lives in the back of the general store.
Yeah, that's her life.
She's got nothing. She's a widow. And you implied earlier that she may have killed off her late husband. So is this what you believe?
I don't know. It's something weird. I don't know. I'm probably reading way too much into that conversation she had. Because I don't know, just the way she talked about him, just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that's not important because as she's counting the recent gain riches from her blackmail, Ken bonks her on the head with an empty champagne bottle. Oh, God.
I mean,
and he waits until she turns around. He wants to make eye contact with the people that he kills.
Yeah, that's
like that gives him a boner.
That's
the only thing I can think.
That is gross. Yeah, that is true, and that is some sick serial killers. If he hadn't gotten caught, spoilers, he gets caught at the end. I think that he would have just gone on to kill more and more people. I think that his little A-frame cabin out there would be turned into a torture dungeon, or I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So there's a line in there where he's flirting with Lysenko, Lily, as they polish off that first bottle, and they're toasting to their second bottle. Ken says something like, "Here's to prosperity," and she goes, "And romance." I just thought, it's so cringy, man. It was horrible. Oh, you could tell she was falling for him pretty hard.
Oh, and it was so obvious and sad and everything. And by the way, okay, I want to put the personality of Mrs. Lysenko aside for a moment and focus on how she looks. She is how I imagine Mrs. Columbo looking. like Italian,
Really?
like, you know, but, you know, she's not.
I imagine Mrs. Columbo, if I were to take a guess, would look more in the lines of somebody like Mrs. Melville, but
Really? That's too old.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Or do you picture like a little
kidding.
Italian grandma? Hey, what you doing? I'm sorry, I just did an Italian impression. Where
horrible.
were we? Oh, Mrs. Lysenko.
No, we lost all our Italian listeners. So, thanks.
So, next we cut to, it's the next day. Columbo shows up.
Oh, wait. So wait, he does take the body out on a boat in the middle of the lake, throws her in, and then takes the 2 bottles that Columbo has identified. There are 2 bottles. I'm sure he noticed the brand, and he throws those into the lake. Like that's horrible. I mean, obviously that's going to link it back to him when they find those bottles.
If they find those bottles, because they're not going to float. They're going to sink to the bottom of the lake.
Why would she drink 2 bottles out? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. So anyways, he dumps the body. He throws the 2 bottles in with her. And then he's in his skivvies, which I thought was funny. And tips the boat over and swims to shore.
Mm-hmm. And
so the next morning, you see that the police are trolling the lake, and that's when he kind of subtly is just trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know anything. I'm just seeing if anything's been found.
And of course, Mrs. Columbo. Oh my God. And of course, Columbo shows up, and he shows up at his little A-frame cottage, and says, I can't remember. Oh, there was a lady that was killed. Did you know her? No, I hardly knew her. Well, I thought you said, you know.
Yeah, I know. He plays a logic game with them. I love this scene because he's like, did you hear her name? He goes, oh, I think it was Lysenko. And he goes, oh, did you know her? No, I didn't know her. And he goes, oh, but I saw you got your groceries from Lysenko. I thought you said you didn't know her. And he goes, well, know her, not really closely. I mean, I knew of her. You know, he just, this whole game he starts to play, and he's trying to cover his tracks because he keeps saying the wrong thing, and he's just not doing it very well. And then Columbo's just playing a game.
And it comes up to bite him in the ass a moment later when Columbo goes to check out the...
So
Go ahead, you explain.
Oh, yeah, no. So Columbo then, they play this game where, Ken says, you can't afford this place, because Columbo's excuse is, I'm looking at the rent because I've got some vacation coming up. I would like to come out here and want to find a rental. Ken basically says, oh, you can't afford this. What a snobby remark. And I think at this point, Ken is getting officially tired of Columbo. Mm-hmm. He's tired of seeing him. I wasn't expecting him to show up at his cabin. But yeah, so Columbo, after leaving Ken, he goes down to the general store, which was closed earlier because he tried to buy cigars. I thought that was funny. Mm-hmm. Goes to the general store, and notices immediately that Mrs. Lysenko's store is sold out of Tylenol PM. Her whole stock gone. And then the condom machine, is empty as well.
But she's got plenty of gummy worms. Did you notice that?
I like that Columbo, as he's just snooping around, he sticks his hand in the candy jar and steals some candy. I mean, he didn't even pay for it. That was just, I guess, police privileges.
You're technically stealing from a dead woman, basically.
I guess he's like, oh, nobody to collect the money, so... but yeah, so he, what does he notice in there? He finds the cork bottle to the champagne.
That's right. It's
while he's looking around her.
I don't like that because, it's just lucky that he finds the cork, because I think he bends down to look at something and bumps a chair and the cork comes rolling out. But whatever. Okay. Maybe Mrs. Lysenko likes champagne. But there's no bottle, obviously, which he doesn't talk about, but there is no bottle of empty champagne there to go with the cork. And also, I really doubt she sells champagne at the store, although that's never explained. But these all could have been clues that didn't come out.
But there is a big clue that Columbo
what's that?
finds.
Oh, that's right, the book.
Yeah, well, so
the book, the copy of Prescription Murder that he wrote out to Lily, Love Ken.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that means
Absolutely.
that he knew her well enough to give her a book. But you know what? Do you know how many cons you've been to and like somebody will sign, to Jessica, love John Barrowman. To Sean, love Mark Strickson. They always write stuff like that.
That didn't
don't they?
happen.
No, that didn't happen. But they always write down, love, whoever.
To Steve, you don't know anything about production, and let me tell you a little bit about how documentaries are shot aggressively. But anyways, that's another story.
Yeah.
That's in it. So you can cut that out, by the way, if you want.
I'll probably cut that out because people don't know who the hell Mark Strickson is.
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting that we next see Columbo go back to Joanne's house and explains his clues to why he think Ken is the killer.
Yes! I'm glad you brought that up because I did not like that. And it threw me off. And it's okay because, the show is brand new. They haven't gotten quite the formula down yet. Because in any other formula, or I'm sorry, in any other show, he would have gone and talked to Ken about the clues that he found and confronted Ken about the clues that he found.
Yeah, I didn't understand what was going on. And again, so it's season 1, episode 1. So, they really hadn't gotten Peter Falk hadn't gotten the character down. The writers haven't gotten the character down just yet. But I almost got the impression, and I hope I'm wrong, that at the beginning when he was making the omelet for Joanna, and then this scene, it was like there was a relationship romantically, but just there was a friendship, and I almost felt like, what if they continued with that friendship into the other episodes, and she was like a sidekick. She's the wife of a murder mystery writer. I don't know. I don't know if they were kind of testing that.
Well, I'm
or if
sure.
that was just
I'm sure that was not the intention because they went through several more episodes and never brought it back again. But that is interesting.
Right.
That would be interesting. I wouldn't like it, but it would be interesting. Yeah. She would be the equivalent of the editor at the Penny Saver magazine in Mrs. Columbo.
Right, yeah.
Like he goes back and he throws all his ideas off of her, but thank God, no.
Yeah. So next we see Ken driving up, talking to the movers. Apparently now he's wanting all this stuff taken out of the office. I guess he's going to put in storage, but nothing's happening. It's just this guy eating his lunch in the moving truck, and the movers hadn't come out in 2 hours. So this pisses off Ken. He goes upstairs to the office, and he sees there's a police on guard, or guarding the elevator, I guess. He sees that, gets nervous, walks into the office, and there's Columbo sitting at Jim's desk. I'll let you continue.
So they have a nice little, back and forth. Columbo's actually sitting there reading the end of a Mrs. Melville book. And the Columbo's like, well, I came here to arrest you. Oh, wait, they start off with I was in the neighborhood. And he's like, oh, you're always in the neighborhood. Well, I came here to arrest you for the murder.
Yeah, he's done with them. Yeah.
I came here to arrest you for the murder of Jim Ferris. You have the right to it. And he's like, no, Columbo, I've written that stuff 1,000,000 times. You can just stop it right now. Oh, but you didn't write it. You never wrote much of anything. But wait, here's this matchbook I found. And here's the murder plot outlined. A wants to kill B. A brings B to his country house and shoots him there to make it look like it's in his office or something to that effect. And then Ken just basically gives up. I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Well, he plays hard. Like you can't. That won't prove anything in a court of law. You can't. You're building that off a House of Cards kind of comment. But yeah, when he proves that at some point Jim had written down, because Jim was known to write little ideas on pieces of paper or on inside of matchbooks, whatever, all the time. And so that was one of his ideas, like you just explained. Taking somebody out to a lake house and killing.
Which is why Jim thought he was having deja vu when they were driving out there earlier in the episode before he's killed.
Yeah, you would think if this is ringing a bell, you would think, wait a minute, then something bad's about to happen. So I'm just surprised he's that gullible.
Yeah.
Poor Jim.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So I guess this proves that Ken is the murderer, so we arrest Ken Franklin. And I love that the last thing that Ken says to Columbo, and by the way, in this scene, Columbo calls him Ken. I don't know if he calls him Mr. Franklin in all the earlier scenes, or if he ever calls him Ken before. But
I don't know.
yeah,
but yeah, and it's funny though. Columbo does. I mean, he's playing hardball at this time. I mean, he's trying to get Ken to get. I don't know. He's trying to unnerve him or whatever. But he's saying he says the first murder that was genius. The second one was sloppy. Mm-hmm. He goes, I don't think the first one was your idea. But I definitely think the second one was yours. And basically just calling Ken a sloppy writer, not very good at what he does. He's pulling no punches with Ken. He's trying to upset him, I guess, so he'll lose his cool and maybe say something he should.
And of course, my favorite line is, after the goat's up, he says to him, I kind of had you going there for a while though, didn't I? Yes, sir, you did. Yes, he did. Roll credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. The end.
Yeah, roll credits. Yeah, and so yeah, we don't ever see Ken again until part 2, which is in season 3. Where he changes his name to Greenleaf, and
Riley Greenleaf,
and he and Eddie.
Or is it when he's a magician? I don't know. Well, we don't know about that one yet. Let's stiff upper lip on the hush hush. Fun facts, or actually not so fun facts about the actress who played Lily Lysenko. She was played by a lady named Mrs. Colby. I think it's Barbara Colby, but I didn't write it down. But her last name is Colby. This was her first television appearance. After this, she appeared in several more shows, like Macmillan and Wife and McCloud and things of that ilk. And then she was given a role in Rhoda, which was a big sitcom. Mm-hmm. She was in the first 3 episodes of that. And also, fun fact about her, she was Ethel Merman's daughter-in-law. She was walking. She was walking to her car with a friend after an acting class or something to that effect. I'm not sure where, when they were shot by gang members and killed. And her murder was never solved. She had a very bright and promising career in front of her, and it was cut short by some asshole. And that was just a couple of years after this aired. So she had a very lucrative career between this and when she died. And of course, Jack Cassidy himself died many years later after he lit himself on fire with a cigarette. And it was just, allegedly, the body was so badly burnt and decomposed that they could only identify it through his signet ring that he wore on his right hand and his pinky. That, I don't know if that's like a Hollywood urban legend or whatever, but yeah. So,
that's sad.
Very sad.
That's interesting, though, that we mentioned earlier, directed by Steven Spielberg.
He went on to do some things, I think. Did he do some things after this?
Yeah,
I think a couple things we may have heard of. I don't know. Maybe a couple Academy Awards.
And there were definitely some, like you said, if we didn't know Spielberg had directed this, I probably wouldn't have picked up on it. But there are a few little tinges of Spielberg in the story. It felt, like the idea of the deja vu, and because Spielberg likes paranormal stuff. I mean, you look at Close Encounters, you look at a Poltergeist. I mean, he always had an interest in that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so they kind of had a little twist to that. The boat scene, like Fear of the Water. I immediately thought of Jaws.
But isn't that all stuff in the script as opposed to director's choice?
Maybe. I would think a director can make some lateral decisions if he wants. But I don't know. Like I said, just because I know it's Spielberg, maybe that's why I picked up on it. I probably would have never noticed. But anyways, I thought he did an excellent job with it, by the way.
So, do you want to rate this after we hear a word from our sponsors?
Yeah.
Okay.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Here with a special TV offer, a famous fan of Agatha Christie.
I am Vincent Price, and I have a book for you. It is perhaps the most spellbinding mystery ever written. An astonishing tale by that unchallenged queen of mystery, Agatha Christie. Murder on the Orient Express. This book is one of her best, one of my personal favorites, and yours to enjoy free for 15 days as your introduction to a publishing triumph. The only complete Agatha Christie mystery collection. Dazzling labyrinths of deceit, intrigue, detection. Imagine the hours of pleasure you could spend in the arms of a good mystery, in the company of some of the most delightful characters in literature. Jane Marple, uncanny. Hercule Poirot, brilliant. Join these delicious detectives of crime to relish the well-laced clues, weigh the evidence, unveil the villain. Accept Murder on the Orient Express, then volume by volume your library bills. Each book is designed to last for generations, hardbound in plush Sussex blue with elegant end papers. Books you and your family will love to own. And then to make it irresistible, we will also send along free And Then There Were None, to add to your first volume in this collection. A rich enjoyment for years to come. Call this number to receive Murder on the Orient Express, your first volume in the Agatha Christie collection, free for 15 days. Keep it for only $9.95 and receive future volumes about once a month for free examination at the same low price. There's never a minimum of books to buy, and you may cancel at any time. If you choose not to keep Murder on the Orient Express, return it. And Then There Were None is yours free, no matter what you decide.
Call 1-800-692-4000. That's 1-800-692-4000.
I urge you to call now.
And we're back.
That's fun.
Okay, Steve, who went last? Who went first? Or no, who went last time?
I don't remember. I have no idea. But first you've got to guess what number we'll be reading.
Oh, I am on top of you here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say 496.
No, what's that?
That's
496. Is that an area code?
That is Ken Franklin's license plate. It says ASM 496.
Wow.
Along with a yellow bumper
usually
sticker that says "Have a nice day." Okay, so I'm gonna say.
Did not notice that.
I'm gonna say 937.
No, not 937. What's that from?
That says address 937 Skyview Drive.
Oh, that's right.
Then I'm gonna say 213.
No, because that's the area code.
Okay.
No. No, you're gonna hit yourself over the head because this one's so easy.
Okay.
It's 1 out of 15 Mrs. Melville published books.
Okay. They had 15? Is that what they said at one point?
Yeah, at the very beginning.
It looks like they had like 40 on the little... Okay, so I think that I went first last time, so you go first this time.
Okay, so I've seen this episode more than 3 times, I'm sure. I'm going to say this start off right off the bat. I really enjoyed this episode. Every time I watch it, I enjoy it immensely. Jack Cassidy, I think this is one of his better roles in Columbo. He's such a weaselly, but enjoyably to watch murderer. I love the introduction of Lysenka. It kind of comes into its own later. I did miss some of the quirks of Columbo that wasn't prevalent in this episode, but I thought Peter Falk did a great job. I actually enjoyed a more confident Peter Falk. I enjoyed, even enjoyed the scenes with the omelet. I don't know why this seems so personable. When Columbo is trying to settle Joanna, I just really, really enjoyed this. Just even the cringy stuff with Lysenka and Ken Franklin. You could see that coming from a mile away. I mean, if anything, the people that he kills are just stupid. They're just unfortunately just both Jim and Lily are just dumb. I mean, there's no explanation why Ken should have gotten the jump on them. But anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's a fun go-to. If I was going to introduce this show, Columbo, to somebody who's never seen it before, I think this would be a great first episode. And as a matter of fact, I think you may have been the one. I know you showed me a few first episodes to kind of get me into it. I don't know if this was one of them, but
no,
it was definitely.
It was not. No.
Okay, but this has got to be in the top 10 Columbo episodes of all time. So I'm gonna give it 15 Melville books out of 15.
Okay, all right.
I think, I enjoyed this thoroughly.
Well, I'm going to get hate tweets, like I did when I reviewed Stitch and Crime and didn't really like that. I actually enjoy watching this too, but I've never had to watch it for a podcast before where I had to be critical of it. And I have to admit, I don't think that there's much here. It's the story. It's the script. Jack Cassidy is great. I think I do like him in Publisher Parish more, though. I have a soft spot for that story, and I think I like it more than this.
Well, yeah, his he had a lot of zingers in that one. Like, what was the line? Like, you, sir, need to
call a cab.
And
you're, sir, and you're,
and
you're,
goes,
yeah.
Well, you, madam, need to call a plastic surgeon.
Yeah. He had wonderful lines in there, and he was one of those that the moment Columbo walked in the door, he was pissed off at him all the time. Here, he was a gradual, he's still superb in this. Peter Falk is superb in this. You see, the one before this, Peter Falk is more bumbling. Like, here he plays the, I'm going to come off as dumb, but he doesn't come off as bumbling. Like losing his pencil or asking stupid unprofessional questions or, getting in an airplane.
Or,
or getting up.
Be forgetful.
Getting up in an airplane and, getting, scared of heights and all that. He's got his car, but it's not established that his car is really a piece of shit. We just see his car in one or two scenes. I really can't fault the episode for that, though, because all that lore hadn't been established yet. But they did have it up to a point in the one before this in Ransom for a Dead Man. So maybe they wanted to veer away from the comedy a little bit and make a more of a serious story, which they certainly succeeded at. But watching it again, and I've seen this, I don't know how many damn times. I mean, multiple times. I really don't like the ending. This is one of my least favorite endings of all Columbos. Because
why? Just because Ken gave up so easily?
Not only did he give up easily, but I think the fact that this murder plot is already in Columbo's mind, and the fact that it was written down by Jim Ferris is not proof that it was the same murder plot that Ken Franklin used. Okay, and it turns out that this is Ken's idea as well, and that Jim was the one that wrote it down. Would it have been better if it was Ken that wrote it down? I don't know. But I don't see that it's the straw that broke the camel's back. I think that, maybe together with all the other evidence.
I think the other evidence was, I think if he could prove that they find those two bottles, it's the same two bottles that Ken had. I'm sorry, they found two bottles in the lake, the same two bottles that Ken had before he left. They go to the lake house. The cork is the same brand. The book. I think those are all be more valuable clues than something that Jim wrote down.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I still can't help that every time I watch this, it's actually still a really good piece of television, and I have shown it to people in the past, and they've liked it. And I also have to say that the music is rather catchy. It's very 70s, but still kind of catchy in my mind.
There's a really good scene. I should have brought it up earlier, but the way it was filmed was just, I don't know. It was just really well done. I really have to credit Spielberg on this one for sure. But it's the scene where he goes to Joanne. He's explaining his case, his clues. I guess maybe he's just trying to get ideas out and try to talk it out. But Columbo asks Joanne, "Hey, just talk about the friend. Talk about what you know." I said, I don't know what I'm looking for, but just talk about Jim and Ken. Maybe something will help me piece it together. And she asks Columbo, "Well, would you like some coffee?" And he says, "Yes, please." So he very rudely, gets relaxed in a chair, puts his feet on her coffee table, and the way that's shot, the camera pulls away. That's from behind him as he's got his hand to his temple with a cigar, and he's just listening to her talk, and the volume's being lowered. I really thought that was a great scene because it just shows Columbo's thinking, and I don't know. I thought it was just well shot.
Yes, I agree. I agree, and I think if somebody came out ahead and was a star of this episode, it would be Steven Spielberg. And again, I can't tell if that's because we know it's Steven Spielberg, so we're looking for it. But he does little tricks with wide-angle lenses that are cool, like the scene that you just mentioned. Spielberg in this, Spiely, I like to call him Spiely, knows how to film different beats in the conversation. In the scene between Mrs. Lysenko and Ken Franklin, when they go out to have strawberries and champagne, when Mrs. Lysenko, when Mrs. Lysenko drops the bomb and says, "I want this money or I'm going to expose you," there's a beat. And then all of a sudden we cut to a low shot looking up of Ken Franklin with a sneer on his, not a sneer, but just sort of a smiley, oily smirk. And then we cut to her view, his POV of her eating strawberries and being all, obnoxious. And
go.
Yeah. And,
she's on the strawberries.
And, we already mentioned the opening scene with the typewriter noise and all that. And there are other episodes of Columbo where you see the direction, but it's normally really overly directed. Like, you know what? Blueprint for Murder, directed by Peter Falk, which actually does not start off bad, but I think I know which one it was. It was over-directed. Oh, fuck. There was something... the most dangerous match with the surreal dream sequences. I mean, come on, give me a break. Do we need to have that? Can't we just rely on the actor to show us that, he doesn't like, he's very...
Yeah. Well, you can't compare the I think you shouldn't compare the later episodes of Columbo with
that's true. That's true.
Either.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. But, I do have a lot of problems with the story, and that part of me wants to give it a 10, but I still can't get over the fact that it's still extremely easy to watch. It's just a little bit too light for me. So I'm going to give it a... I don't know, one or the other. I'm going to give it a 12. I mean, look at this. We've been talking for an hour and 5 minutes, not counting the stuff that I had to cut out because I had to get up. But we only talked about the episode itself for about 45 minutes. That's how light the episode was. I mean, there wasn't a lot that happened here. Not only is it a shorter episode, but there's, so yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Seems good to me.
So yeah, that's what I think of it. It's decent. I don't know if I'm going to say top 10 though. There, you and I would agree on other top 10s, but I don't think it's in my top 10.
I really like this one. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a few episodes where I really enjoy the opportunity to rewatch, and this was one of them. So when the Wigan Wheel, is that the right one? Landed on this, I was really excited. This is an episode, even though I've seen it multiple times, I was really excited.
For the record, it's the swing. It's the swinging wheel. The Wigan Wheel we no longer use because we watched all the '90s one. It's out in the recycling. I put it in the recycling bin. They took it out last week.
Okay, did you throw it in the trash? Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoy this one. Definitely worth repeat viewings. And you know what? And as we talk, and then listening to you talk about tonight's episode, what is it that really sells this episode? Because Peter Falk is not quite got the Columbo character down yet.
It's not him. It's not the character.
It's not Peter
Columbo.
Falk yet. It's Jack Cassidy.
Yes.
Jack Cassidy. To me, this is my favorite Jack Cassidy episode.
Yeah.
I know you said you like Publish or Perish, but to me, he's good in that too. But he really knocked it out of the park. Yeah. I think he was a great first villain for Columbo. I think
absolutely. I agree with you there. He was wonderful. Soon to be followed by Robert Culp after this, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, I wanted to ask you, Sean. Have you seen the movie? Because I know you like murder mysteries. You like mystery films. Have you seen Detective Pikachu yet?
I have not. No, I didn't even realize that was designated as a mystery film.
Well, Detective Pikachu, I think should definitely show you that it is. But do you play? So you don't plan to see that?
No. But if somebody knows where I can get a copy of the Detective Conan Clue game, let me know, because I would pay good money for that. That is a serious request.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a reason to watch that
Okay,
film.
you've seen the movie?
I have not.
Oh shit. Okay. All right, go ahead, shoot.
So I read a quote today from Ryan Reynolds. He plays the voice of Pikachu.
Oh, of course.
Who's a detective.
All right, I did not know that.
And during the interview, I don't know why I know this or why I read it. I'm sorry, not why I know this. I know this because I read it. But why did I read this article? But so Ryan Reynolds, you know who he is. He was asked, where did you come up with the voice of Pikachu or Detective Pikachu? You know, where did you look for that? Like what inspired you? What made you kind of create the character in your mind to voice act?
Okay.
And he said, I'm quoting here, if Sherlock had a baby with Jessica Fletcher and their love child gave birth to Columbo.
That is just...
That.
That is just something he
So
pulled out of his ass at the last minute, because I don't know what the fuck that would be. That would be just like...
So now, do you want to see it? I know you love Murder, She Wrote, and obviously you're a Columbo fan. So now you're going to see it, right? That surely is going to sell it to you.
No, I don't think so.
What?
No, no, I'm not going to see.
You don't want to see. You don't want to see the mixture of Columbo, Jessica Fletcher, Sherlock Holmes, mixed into a tiny yellow fur ball that wears a Sherlock.
Okay, first of all,
hat.
let's pick apart what's wrong with this. Okay, well, there's really only one thing he said. He said Sherlock and Jessica Fletcher. He did not say Sherlock Holmes, which means that he's probably thinking of Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock, which I just like to pretend does not exist. Oh yes, I went there.
Well, no, that's not necessary. Well, that's an offline conversation, but I don't think.
Well, it's because of you that I feel like that.
If he knows
now.
what. Okay,
if anybody wants to know, if anybody wants to know why I hate Sherlock now, it's because Steve pointed out a YouTube video for me that is 2 hours long, or it's like maybe an hour and 45 minutes long, which is
I got you to watch that.
I actually
that was great.
fucking watched the whole thing from beginning to end, and I never thought I would. It's called Why Sherlock is Garbage, and it is written by an extremely intelligent individual who can explain to you why the show Sherlock is garbage. Not Sherlock Holmes, the books, any of the movies, or Elementary, or anything of that, but the show Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, which I liked a little bit before I watched that video.
Well, yeah, and he even says it started off. Well, we're not talking about this. Okay, yeah.
No, this is all mystery shit. So anybody, go watch. I'm not going to put it in the show notes because I'm going to forget all about it by the time I edit this. Well, actually, I won't, because I'll listen to past Sean talking about. But we don't have fucking show notes. Nobody looks at that shit anyway. Maybe I'll tweet it. But why Sherlock is garbage?
I do.
So, yeah. All right.
Okay. So let's get to listener feedback.
Oh, I almost forgot. Yeah, we have listener feedback. All right, so we have two pieces of listener feedback, and get ready to masturbate, Steve, because one of them is positive.
Oh, my God.
We have somebody who left us some wonderful, wonderful feedback on iTunes. It's not iTunes, it's the Apple Podcast app. Blues Traveler 2000, thank you, whoever you are. It's entitled, Sometimes Profanity is Necessary. 5 stars. The Columbo Confab fellows bring a funny and smart take to the Columbo Rewatch Pod subgenre. It's laid back, easygoing, and a lot of fun. Not sure what some previous reviewers were saying about profanity. This is a classy joint, and sometimes profanity is needed, so deal with it. I just want to say thank you very much, Blues Traveler 2000. I was looking at some of our reviews, though, and I think people are going back and changing their reviews. Not what they wrote, but what they rated.
Huh?
Because I think that people who left 5-star reviews are changing it to 2-star reviews, and people who left vice versa, 2-star reviews. There was somebody who left one that said, too much profanity, it ruins a good thing. And it was like 1 or 2 stars. And when I saw it the other day, it was 5 stars. So somebody doing something up in there that I don't understand. Either that or the...
Who changed it? No. Well,
either that...
Well, thank you for that feedback, Blues Travelers 2000. That was very nice of you to say. I like to think that Sean's probably the over-aggressive guy with the cuss words, but...
Oh, whatever. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I'm always pushing for a family program, you know.
Yeah, back in December, we had some guy who left a thing, would be much better without foul language, ruins a good thing. And now it says 5 stars, and before it was only 1 star. I don't know. Anyway, Okay, so we also have an email. I like this email a lot. There's a reason. Whoops, I opened up the wrong email. I opened up my work email instead, and immediately got a downer. All right, there's 2 of them. Folks, these are long.
Oh, good.
That's what she said. I forgot about the former one. Okay. So the first one is from Caleb, and he in the what do you call it? What do you call it in the title? In the subject heading, he wrote hate mail. He wrote, "Howdy ho, Sean and Steve. Woo! It's taken me a good long while to get up with the bleh, bleh. Let me start all over again. Howdy ho! Should I say that like Mr. Hanky Poo? Howdy ho, Sean and Steve. Howdy ho. That's good. That's very good. It's taken me a good long while to get caught up with the podcast, but I'm finally here. And might I say, I've absolutely loved the Columbo education that I've gotten. I had seen several episodes here or there when I was a kid, but I just saw it as another one of those 70s cop shows that were always on. But thanks to this podcast, I've completely come around to seeing what makes this one unique and fan-fucking-tastic.
Yay. That's great.
And after all those years of Sean throwing out Columbo references on the TARDIS Tavern, it's been an absolute joy to finally get your love for the show and Columbo himself. With the outfit, the cigars, his just one more things, and the hard-boiled egg eating, the chili loving, and not to mention dog, the guy's a brown paper bag full of quirks, and it's easy to see why this character has been so beloved and continues to be loved all these years later. But to get back to the podcast, man, you guys are just the best. I'm masturbating right now listening to this. I'm sure it seems so masturbatory. I was real sad.
Wait.
What?
Wait, did he write that or are you commenting?
No, I'm commenting on it. He didn't write that. I was real sad when it seemed you had quit the TARDIS Tavern for good, but finding this show has been a total delight. And the enthusiasm you guys have had covering the show has been absolutely infectious for me, always leaves me excited for the next one. But anyway, I shouldn't go on too long since you guys tend to get a lot of feedback for the show. Happy drinking, fellows. Oh, and PPS, because I can't help myself, I just finished and then restarted my complete TARDIS Tavern playlist to the Who Knows How Mayeth time. Still my all-time favorite podcast, and funnily enough, my favorite episode of Columbo so far is still the one you guys first covered on that show. One of the best. Anyway, keep up the good work, boys. I love that somebody who listened to our other podcast got into Columbo because of our stupid man-children. That's awesome. Okay, so thank you, Caleb. And yeah, Caleb has been back in the day when there was a lot of banter, a lot of conversation on the TARDIS Tavern Facebook page. He was a common contributor to this. Okay, this one is a little bit weird. When I say weird, I mean in a good way. And for those of you who are bigger Doctor Who fans than Columbo fans, maybe you just want to hit the 30-second forward thing twice. But hello, Sean and Steve. And he said, well, you'll notice I gave you guys a Towering Inferno billing so as not to show favoritism. Where it's like Steve is on top, and then there's the end, and then Sean is on the bottom, but Sean is to the left. So anyway, never mind. Do you ever see the Towering Inferno?
No.
Oh, well, it's All right, so he says, as a longtime Columbo fan, I enjoy your podcast very much. By longtime Columbo fan, I mean from when they were first broadcast when I was in my teens. Can I do the math here? Oh, that's like... Okay, I'm not going to do the math. I'm too drunk to do the math. Also in my teens, this is the part. Now listen in here. This fellow, I think is yeah. Also in my teens, I had occasion to visit the BBC television centre and the set of Doctor Who, where they were filming the Seeds of Doom, the interior of the villain's mansion. I met Elizabeth.
How cool is that?
I met Elizabeth Sladen on set, who was very nice, wearing an extremely tight Doctor Who T-shirt and clearly no bra. I was, however, even at that tender age, less smitten by Miss Sladen's perky charms than might conventionally have been expected from a young lad of my age. That means he's gay, Steve. Across the set, elegantly suited with pursed lips and an arched eyebrow, stood the actor playing, I suppose, the villain of the piece. I was, I mentioned, a youngster, but old enough to size up said actor and think to myself, get her. Later that day in the BBC canteen, I encountered, in full costume and doing the Times crossword, Mr. Tom Baker, who was also very pleasant and gave me his autograph, which I still have. He left his newspaper on the table when he left. But no, Sean, I didn't snag it. I really should have. I'm sure you agree. I'm not sure why he mentions me, but anyway. Fast forward a decade, and I was back at BBC Centre again. Past workshops and offices, I walked into a vast, almost empty space. A few crates stood near the far wall, but there, all alone in the center of the empty area, stood, careworn and blue, the TARDIS. Anywho, back to the podcast. Good work, guys. Keep it up. I enclose a link to a real-life Columbo-style murder mystery with lots of clues. Best wishes, Rob. Okay, now,
Thanks, Rob.
he
cool.
sent a link, and it's a long article. I'm not going to read it. It's from the unredacted.com. It's an article called The Killing of Julia Wallace, An Impossible Murder. And basically, she was allegedly killed by her husband, who went through every effort that day. Like, he would wander around town, ask people the time, ask people where the street was, like, just asking people some weird questions, just mostly to establish his own alibi to a murder.
To establish where he was.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just it's just like the beginning of a Columbo episode. And this was an old timey, like late 1800s, early 1900s. Late 1800s,
Okay.
early 1900s, like Sherlock Holmes times, basically, about this guy who did this. It's a fascinating article. I definitely go to the unredacted.com or do a search for The Killing of Julia Wallace, An Impossible Murder. It's very cool. Definitely recommend that to anybody interested in true crime. And if the My Favorite Murder Girls are listening, please check that out as well, because I have a heterosexual crush on you. If anybody one of them gets that.
I have no idea who that is.
Oh, My Favorite Murder is good. It's a true crime and comedy podcast. Two things that don't normally...
Two good things. Yeah, it's like peanut butter and chocolate.
Exactly.
All right.
So Steve, it's my favorite time of the podcast. It's time to swing the swinging wheel of the 70s, or as we now call it, the wheel. Go ahead and swing it.
I'm so disappointed. I honestly thought this whole time I was spinning a wheel, and now to realize tonight that it's all post-production special effects.
So you actually had a wheel, like,
Okay, here we go.
was it the little dial from the Game of Life that you had there? You were... All right. All right, go ahead and...
I actually still have. I do have that board game from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's the photo of the kids playing on the cover. It's so dated looking. It's great. It's awesome.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead and
yes.
spin.
I'm spinning it now.
All right. Do you like George Hamilton? Do you like smoking? Do you like psychiatry?
Yes. Oh God, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm pretty sure I know what. I don't know the title, but I know the episode.
We are going to be watching A Deadly
Yes, I do.
State of Mind, starring George Hamilton and Leslie Ann Warren. Deadly State of Mind. Awesome.
Is that the one with the printer paper?
No, Steve, we already did that one a long time ago.
That's what I'm thinking of. I didn't know George Hamilton did another one.
He was one in the 90s, and then he did one in the 70s. This is the one we watched it when you were at my house.
Really?
Yeah. If anybody would like to make a donation for the Steve Alzheimer's Fund, please email us at columboconfab@gmail.com. Okay, so that's what we're watching next time. So
have I seen this one?
Yes, you have!
We've seen this.
Oh, God. We do this every time. Have I seen this? I don't know if I've seen this.
Yes, okay, yep, okay, I see, looking at photos. Yeah, I do recognize this. Uh-huh.
Just when we talk about it, Steve, be sure to pack...
Says the guy calling
a warm pair. Nice. Be sure to pack a warm pair of underwear. Okay? You'll get it later on. Never mind.
I think I watched this recently too. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. Please, any hate or disconcerting emails about the show, feel free to email us. Attention, Sean. What's our
I just said it. columboconfab@gmail.com. I just said it.
Okay, apparently I'm suffering from some kind of mind problem
or
memory issues.
Or you can reach us at columboconfab on Twitter. I'm the one that handles the Twitter. I'm not always very responsive, as I've explained in the last episode that we published, so I apologize for that. But no, go ahead, Steve. All right, close us out. No, yeah.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, everybody! Thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to columboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @columboconfab. And look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes.
I love clues.
Hello, I'm Sean, and I'm the host of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Each episode, I randomly pick a film from the book and spend about 10 minutes talking about its director, the cast, the genre, and my personal thoughts on the merits of the film. Each delicious yet bite-sized episode contains information about a film from practically any genre, any country, or any year. Check us out on iTunes and we'll send you free cookies. Some restrictions apply.